and all his shenanigans, and then you and Amy moved in across from me.
Yeah, we worked in a broom closet because we had like no windows.
There was an interior with no window.
But when they built this building, they specifically made the walls go into the ceiling, because before they used to stop at where
Stop
the
right
drop
at the
ceiling was.
Yeah.
So when someone else was doing their cold calls, you could literally hear
Every.
everything. You could even like almost hear the person responding on the phone if it was like loud enough. And so we would like stop each other and be like, where's that open house? Great.
So what's the skinny? Are we getting started on time with this? I like to be on time,
Yeah, and then people just kind of meander in.
and then people meander as their schedule go out. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad that all of you took the time to be here on time to see these amazing class I'm about to share, facilitate, as they like to say, because this isn't my content. In fact, I've only read through it a handful of times, but the truth of the matter is it's no different than what I do professionally and have been doing for 20 years. So that's the cool part. The reason being is I'm Matt Johnson. I've been born and bred in the Keller Williams system. I got my real estate license in 2003. At the time I was a full-time grass grower, working at North Oaks Golf Club as an assistant superintendent. And my ex-wife got in full-time. I jumped in shortly thereafter, and we ran a very successful business for 13 years until we parted ways in 15. And I started the new real estate group in 2016. So it's been a good ride, a lot of fun. Doing it before having kids, doing it while having kids, and all of that stuff. It's taken some different turns with it. Yeah. I remember the first class I took. Remember when online classes became a thing? It's 2005, 6 in that range. Todd Butzer, who was our regional director, and a guy named Dean Poole, who worked for Top Producer, made a class called Your Business is Your Database. 10-week class on how to build a database and nurture it, feed it, grow it, create your business. And guess what I did? I bought Top Producer, and for 15 years, that was my assistant. Told me every morning who to call, who to send letters to, who to follow up with, what type of follow-up to send or do, when their birthdays were, when their anniversaries were, blah, 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 blah. And in 2019, I transitioned that all to me. Command was not quite where it is today in 2019, but it was enough to get by, because with Top Producer, there was so many different things you can or could do with it, but I was using like 10% of it. And at $25 a month going to free was a budget savings. Not that I needed to save some money, because Lord knows I blow it on other things. It was just a way to transition. And it's way cooler now with the app, I'll tell you that much. So welcome to lead conversion. Lead conversion is the next step after lead generation, right? If you don't have leads generated, there's nothing to convert. If you don't convert, you don't have clients. So we're going to be talking about getting those opportunities into a relationship. And ultimately, that's where you sign the agreement as a listing agreement or a buyer representation contract. And that brings you down the road into business, making money. And that's what we're all here to do, right? So you guys have had the success follow-up system going on. Any success stories or exciting things that happened over the weekend that anyone like to share? That's good. Need any opportunity, new clients? Super.
They didn't want to share their information with me, but I know that they are looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we did it for an hour, it was 3 to 4. And it would be in the beginning and then.
So open houses, I used to do about 100 a year for the first 5 years I was in real estate. 2 every weekend, if not more, sometimes on Thursday nights, that kind of thing. And what I've learned is that the shorter time frames, and then even if you're able to find a couple houses in an area or a neighborhood and bounce from one to the other. Ken Frank taught me that, right? Older than the hills, been doing this real estate thing for as long as I've been alive, basically. Ken Frank, he taught me that. And he would go, into East St. Paul or something like that. And of course, this was back when there was more than 7 homes for sale in all the Twin Cities, but he would do one on this block over here from 1 to 2. And then at 2:30, he'd go over to this house. And then at, 4 o'clock, he'd finish at this house and he'd have a half-hour break in between. And all you'd have to do is like change the way the signs point or something,
Yeah.
and you could get 3 different open houses in. And some people would come back, but with online these days, people are going onto their little favorite app and they're going, oh, there's an open, okay, we'll do that at that time and they're just booking these things. So they knew you were gonna be there at 3 o'clock. And that's why they showed up 3 to 3:15, and then you were dead after that. Because when I was doing it 20 years ago, we'd sit in these houses in Woodbury for 2 or 3 hours sometimes on a Saturday afternoon, just hoping that people would come by, right? So a lot of awesome new, kind of using the technology, but leveraging that opportunity to meet more people, for sure. Any other success? Yeah. Nothing. Your average open houser is 4 to 6 months out. They're not gonna buy the home you're in, but they're looking for help. Or they're just a nosy neighbor. And that being said, everybody's a lead, right? As they say, either buy or die. And there's a lot of people that say, well, you're not gonna get me out of this house. You have to drag me out of here in a pine box. Well, that's great. Just introduce me to your kids and I'll help them sell the estate. Because we're all gonna need to sell our house at some point, right? I mean, maybe not like that, but that's not my recommended script for that one. But think about it, all right. I'll just slip my card in that pine box and maybe they'll see it at the funeral. And that's a morbid way to start your Monday morning. Any other success stories? Anybody get new clients, new leads, new opportunities into the system? How we building our database? Morning, Doug.
I had a client, their financing fell through, but luckily I was able to go into the new builder and we got them into a different spot. It was 10 grand cheaper and their financing should work out now. And they're still closed.
Oh, wow. Well, cool.
Yeah.
That to income ratio is just a little too high.
Yep, they were 1% off.
Damn those interest rates.
So we moved them from a corner lot into the inside, same house,
A year ago, they would have qualified no problem,
right?
but with the rates going up, it's
Yeah,
pinching people's purchasing power.
yeah.
For sure. For every 1% rates go up, your buying power goes down 10%. So. Rule of thumb. I'm not a lender, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA. Cool. All right. Well, hearing none, we'll jump into class. Of course, on Friday, you discuss lead follow-up, a little bit of communication and conversing with different leads. Let's see here. Agenda for today, we're gonna jump into a little bit of lead conversion, converting leads to an appointment, of course, how to improve your conversion rates, right? Because we can all come across leads, but the more we can get those into appointments, the more opportunities we can convert to clients, right? Those are some of our metrics that we track. And then, of course, we'll recap the topic of the day and finalize with our success system assignment for the day. Is everybody enjoying that success system piece? That's the activity you do to be a realtor. I always joke around with people who become lawyers and then they rent an office and then they sit down and be like, Joe Schmo Law Firm, and then 6 months later it's vacant. Well, you didn't go out and do any lead generation. People don't just knock on the door and, right? There's not a line going out the front door of Keller Williams of people looking to buy or sell homes. So it's our job to go out there and find them. And even if you're a licensed chiropractor, if you have nobody laying on the table, you're unemployed, right? Right. I mean, I was almost unemployed until last week, and then I went on 4 listing appointments. I had sold all my listings, none of my buyers were active. And then all of a sudden, a couple of opportunities flooded in. And we're seeing that this week. This week is especially, of course, mid to late March, that seasonality piece, people are jumping in. And that'll ramp up. We'll take a little break over Easter, and then that spring market will swing hard into Memorial Day weekend. Then we're off into the summer. So. So lead conversion is essential because that's the metric that's gonna bring us into having more clients ultimately. You can keep those numbers up, then you can have more opportunities. I always like the good rule of thumb of 50%. If you can work with at least half the people you meet, you're doing pretty darn good. But lead conversion has more to do than just that front end, or when you first meet them, it's success over time. It's not everybody's a lead today, like we talked about. And so having a repeatable process in order to stay in touch with people is the most essential part. Can't tell you how many times I've been out showing homes and I drive by a house and all of a sudden there's somebody else's sign in the yard. And I go, oh yeah, that's right. I was supposed to call them back a month ago. Right? My bad. I'm the salesperson. It's not their job to follow up with me. It's my job to follow up with them. Right? And typically we feel like we're making too many touches or too many contacts, too many calls. But the biggest complaint from the consumers out there is that the real estate agent didn't follow up with them enough. Right? So yeah, might get one guy that's kind of a jerkhole and he says something mean to you on the phone. That's okay, hang up. The other 20 actually appreciate that you're calling them. So keep on it. So the effort you give to converting leads must match the effort you give to generating them. You may know why that is. Because even if you have a bucket of leads, they're not going to pay you income. You got to get them into the bucket of clients. And then you got to work on the bucket of clients and getting them into contract. And making sure those contracts close, which is what we'll finish up with, I think, later this week. So why do you think both activities, both lead generation, lead conversion, deserve the same amount of time spent?
Say it again.
Why do you think the lead generation and lead conversion deserve the same amount of time?
Well, getting the leads is great, but if you're not working, it doesn't do you damn pretty good.
Absolutely. Same idea? Awesome. Any other insights on that? Not all leads you generate are the same quality. It's one that I thought of as I was going over this material, right? There might be some that are hot and ready to rock, and there's some might be saying, oh, my family has this realtor that we always use, blah, 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 and I'm not gonna move for 3 years. Well, I've had this happen before, is that person died in that 3-year period, the realtor. Well, I didn't have that person to turn to anymore, so it doesn't hurt to be number 2. And I'll be very honest with you, over the next 6 months, there's gonna be a lot of realtors leaving this business. You know what they leave, what?
You're gonna die?
No, they're gonna go back to corporate America or the drive-through at Wendy's where they were working before. Hairdressers, bank tellers, servers. My God, my restaurant friends need servers. Need to retire a few realtors back to the service industry.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. You got it, Nick. And I'm joking, but at the same time, that's the reality of where we're at in this market cycle. I've been working some leads that a year or 2 ago, I probably wouldn't have called back, to be honest with you, just because I had plenty of opportunities to fill my pipeline. But right now, I know I need to work those leads. As small and junky as their house might be, it's important to me because I need to fill my own pipeline. And when you have 6.2 million transactions going down to around 4.5, and you still have the 1.6 million realtors to serve all those people, your transactions per licensee drops substantially. You know what the easiest year to sell real estate was? Me and Kevin remember it. You might have been driving trucks back in 2010, 2012. In 2012, there was 13 transactions per agent in this country. Average, right? And by 2021, that dropped to 7. It was around 5 last year, and it'll be even less this year. Again, that's when our education renewal comes into June, right? You're gonna see a lot of people hitting that exit door in the real estate industry. If you haven't sold a house in 6 months, why would you renew your license? My goal in classes has always been to teach that people should sell at least one a month, right? Should be your goal, just to get going. And then work up from there. All right. So that's why it's important to get those conversions in. What's the conversion process look like? Let's start with a quote from Shift. Consistently getting every possible appointment from the leads you generate isn't complicated, but it does require preparation, practice, and purposeful action, right? Like I was talking about in my experience with top producer, it told me who to call, what to talk to them about, and when to follow up again. We're always taking notes. That's why I like Command right now. It tells me in the morning, call this person. I dial it from my Command app. When I get off the phone, Command says, what would you like to enter as a note? I talked to Joe. Joe says that his kids are going to be off to college in 2 years. Call them back in 6 months. Would you like to create a follow-up? Yes, 6 months. Boom, does it all for me right there. That's through the Command app on my phone. And don't tell the police, but sometimes I do it while I'm driving. Or sitting at a stoplight. Because it's all hands-free now in my car, right? I just touch the screen and boom, boom. Done. I can get that lead generation out of the way. I used to do it with a headset sitting at my desk on my computer, you know. And then I'd hit print and I'd print off a letter or some kind of a note, or I'd have these little tent card thank yous. Great to follow up with you. You know, good luck with the graduation party. Hope everything goes well. You know, for a lot of these people, that's, you know, getting their kids off to school. Is that dinging? Is that Jackie? Jackie, are you dinging me? All right, so you got capture, connect, and connecting brings you to the cultivation phase. Obviously, if they're not an immediate lead, and cultivate is that long-term follow-up, right? Taking purposeful action over time. When would you like me to touch base with you again? How would that be? Text, phone, email, right? And then, of course, most of the time I divide that in two, divide that by 2 in half. They say, you know what, follow up with me in a couple of months. It's probably a month is when I'll call back. Or maybe next year. I'll call them back in at least 6 months, maybe sooner. Because a lot of people will kind of overestimate that time frame in which they're thinking of doing it. And then you wind up seeing a sign in their yard when you're driving by. Oh, shoot. Should have followed up with them sooner. I've left millions of dollars of commissions on the table due to lack of lead follow-up. Do as I say, not as I do. That being said, I'm also pretty good at it too. Generally. So after lead generation, lead conversion is the most business critical activity you must master. Because people will do business with a real estate agent, even if that agent's not the best agent or the most seasoned agent, they'll do business with them because you probably know more about the home buying and selling process than they do. So they're going to turn to a professional for help. And that's why I'm not afraid of the real estate agent ever being removed from the transaction process. Right? All right. So you got possible business, probable business, and then you're running a profitable business, right? So I feel like I jumped forward. Oh, there it is. Make the page. Of course, the probable business and then profitable business is actually where the money meets the pavement. So you can predict as far as I have a sheet that my assistant puts in front of me every Monday. Those are leads, clients, and then the closing transactions. The closing transactions I actually keep in Command because we manage everything through there now in paperwork. And so it's nice to be able to pop on and go, okay, what do I have this month? Awesome. I got this, that, and the other closing. I have these people in the hopper. We got these contracts are, you know, negotiated. And then the lead opportunities, right? The follow-ups will pop up each day through the conversion program. So building those out. Any questions? Any ahas? Shout them out.
And I didn't realize you could do that with the making notation. Yeah.
Mhm. Super slick. Love it, love it, love it.
That was my big one. That I feel like I have to be sitting in front of the computer to make those follow up, but if I can do it on the web.
Mobile office. One of my favorite places to prospect is in community service. I like to get out and work with different nonprofits and community organizations, help them do what they do. It's a great place to meet people, meet new faces, build relationships. But, you know, in between whatever meetings, in between stuff, there's always downtime where you can pop on and get a few phone calls. It never fails that, like, I guess I forget it now, but yesterday I was laying on the couch watching TV. I thought, oh, I should follow up with somebody, and it's a listing opportunity. And I forgot it. I should have wrote it down, right? If I just got in command and made a follow-up. Just tell command to schedule that, I would have it in my phone for today. But that's why that follow-up is so important. Anything else? Any other ahas before we move on?
I do think it's important to note that your style of working with the community is second to none. And it's, you just think one person most to know, you very well,
Every day here.
every day here. But,
It used to be called Citizen of the Year, and I like that better.
Lions Club and all the things.
You get a-
do to Put yourself out
Get a
there.
pin that says Citizen. I don't do it for the fame. Obviously, I do it because I build relationships. I get to do things that I enjoy doing. Long story short, my kids were born in 2009 and 11, and I realized they were going to call Woodbury home, so I wanted to get more involved in the community. Started with the chamber, then I met people in the Lions, and then I met people in the Community Foundation. And so on and so forth. Food shelves, Sawashko Cares, you name it. Special Olympics, polar plunging. You go down to Madison's Place Playground by sports complex formerly known as Bielenberg. That was a joke. Anybody Prince fans in the room?
Literally.
All right, there's a plaque there though, and it has, my friend Lisa and I are the only individuals that are on that plaque. Everybody else is a corporation or a nonprofit that donated money to build that. But Lisa and I went out and through our efforts in a few different capacities, raised over $5,000 for the Madison Place Playground. So we were able to get our name included in that. You know, it's something that'll be there arguably forever, right? My kids go down there with their friends, well, oh, they're good at, right? Not that that's like a big deal, but it's just a little something that I did because I met the Millingtons, David and Dana. I heard the story about their daughter and how she passed away at a young age, and I was inspired to get involved and help them out. So made some calls to my sphere. I did a lock-in thing, we did a makeshift jail. Happened to be the back room at Carmine's, and beverages were being served, but called all the people in my database and said, hey, I'm locked up and I'm raising money for a good cause and I can't get out of here until I make $3,000. And so people would donate 20, 30, 50, 100, whatever. But I also like support other people in those kind of things. So I build up like a social reciprocity, if you will, where people do want to help me out when I ask for help, because I've been helping them in other ways. So try and teach my kids that way.
You can still be in jail right now.
Probably should be.
Fly under the radar.
Cool. All right, good class, everybody. Thanks for coming, Bill.
I just can't believe all of it out there. If you want to have on your own.
Yep. We're all gonna be millionaires and you missed out on it. Hope your
Amazing.
smoothie was worth it. Cheers. All right, we're gonna dig into the next section, which is how to convert a lead to an appointment. All right. Converting leads to an appointment. So what does that look like? Turn to the lead conversion process. And of course, at its simplest, capturing and collecting the minimum amount of valid contact information from buyer or seller is important, right? If you have a lead, how are you going to be able to get in touch with them? So this should include their names and a way to get a hold of them, such as email, phone number. Most likely this will occur when you are in the process of lead generating. So what are some methods of capturing lead? Where can we capture leads?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Well, I guess we'll just move on. You're not Colleen, right? Colleen's sister. What's your name? Dawn. I've seen your picture on the thing and stuff. We haven't met in person, so I'm like,
Nice to meet you.
you do look a little bit like her though. Thanks for being here. Yes. How about more specific? What are some ideas for lead generation? We talked about one earlier, Denise. Yeah. What else?
Social media.
Events.
Door knocking.
Boom. Come on, keep it coming.
Kids events.
What was that, Nick?
I said babies.
Grocery stores, restaurants.
Restaurant.
What would you do at a restaurant, Kevin?
I gave the example earlier in the class, I heard overheard people talking behind me.
Yep.
They were talking about real estate and taking a move. And, business cards. Why not?
Absolutely.
Cards don't do me any good in the box.
I know some realtors that are bartenders, and when they're bartending, they meet people. Mhm. When I was working at the golf course for the first 2 years as a licensed agent, I sold like several homes to people I worked with at the golf course. In fact, one of my best referral resources is from that job that I had at the time. Still in contact with them today.
My sister gets a lot of leads at Menards. She has a perfect job.
Cool, yeah. Yeah, there's all sorts of opportunities, and that's the reality. Leads can be found anywhere. That's what you do with them that counts, and that's what we're talking about today, right? So when you're capturing leads, it's important to know that what you're going to say before you start the conversation, right? So something, the example is, if I needed to get in contact with you, what would that number be? Right? What would be the best number? What's the best way to get in touch with you? Because communicating with leads isn't about how we want to do it. It's about how they want to receive it, right? Some people might just say, oh, just email me, or, don't call me, but you can text me here, right? I find a lot of success texting during business hours, because people, they can't take a call while they're sitting there and their boss is looking over their shoulder, but they're on Facebook looking at their iPhone, right? They'll text you back usually. I found some information that you're wanting, you're looking for a 3-bedroom house in Roseville. Oh, Matt's got a new listing coming up in 2 weeks. By the way, I do, because everybody's looking for a house in Roseville. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-level home, walkout basement on a nice, quiet dead end street. Could be about 350. Anyways, yeah. But that's something you could text somebody if that's what they're looking for, right? Keep these types of things in mind.
Bring it down to 3, maybe I could ask.
We just gotta drop the interest rates back down to 4, and then you're fine. We talked about that earlier. All right. So, and all leads probably aren't ready for an appointment, right? A lot of times, if they're first-time home buyers, they might be interested in getting more information. It's an opportunity to sit down over coffee or whatever and kind of talk about the process and those steps, especially if they're an open houser and they're 4 to 6 months out. They're just out there trying to get some information. That's why I tell my sellers, your open house isn't going to generally sell the home, but it might be a way to get some new eyes through the property and get some feedback. However, as a real estate agent, we need a lot of people with those opportunities, and it's our job to follow up with them. Like I said, I built my business on opens. A lot of people went into my database. I currently have about 7,000 people at command. Keep in mind, though, I'm only communicating with about 1,700 of them on a regular basis. People that I would consider more likely to do business with me kind of people.
You're doing that with tags.
Call them advocates. If you remember in the MREA book, there's a big bullseye, right? Of everybody, everybody in the world, everybody in Minnesota, everybody, right? And then everybody you've met, and then you get further and further into those advocates. They're called. Those are people that are likely to do business with you or have referred you business at one time or another. And going back over the last 10 years, 40% of my business is repeat or referral. I'm sorry, repeat or sphere. 40% is referral, so 80%, right? 80-20 principle. 80% of my business comes from 20% of my database. Surprise, surprise. And then, of course, I hustle for the other 20%, which is sign calls and web leads and whatever, you name it. Random things. Kevin's friend that's sitting over the behind me at the restaurant. Yep. So how are you currently capturing leads? What information are you collecting and what are your current lead categories or tags? Besides advocates, any other types of contacts we're using in our database? Or tags? Or contact types is what they're called in Top Producer.
I do invite
City, you include each. So like a geographic way of,
yeah.
Yeah.
And year.
yeah, I like how Command has the ability to also pull the city that they're in through their address. So for instance, I was having a happy hour at Angelina's, invited my people. What I did was I searched my advocates that have a Woodbury address. And then I was able to send them a text message through Twillo or whatever it's called. Saying, hey, I'm having a happy hour, step by and have a drink on me. Some apps. You know, get a couple dozen people to show up. Cost me $600 for the night. It's a good time. Get 1 or 2 leads from it. You don't have to rent a riverboat and invite 1,000 people to have a client party, right? I mean, you can do these little pop-up things and, you know, basically when your business is slowing down, you need more opportunities, right? Versus when you're busy, maybe you don't do as many. You can work through that. Any other tags, contact types?
We'll take your put our leads in 4 different groups. Our team, A, B, C, D.
Sure.
People, I know how far out they are, we've got different campaigns for each one,
Mhm.
so if the transactors, the shoppers and players and traders.
Yeah. And do those contact types have different follow-up campaigns for each type? And are they diversified between buyer and seller?
Yes.
Wow. That's elaborate. I like it.
Some of their buy side, there's actually category for that too.
Jeez. So you got arguably a dozen different follow-up campaigns, just specifically for leads. And that's probably in and above 33 touch or some kind of a annual.
Some close to it.
Yeah. I refer to 33 touches like the idea.
Yeah,
that not
it's more of an automated thing that we can reach out with specific things, we get on our newsletters, that's no monthly thing. To any of the campaigns that you're
necessarily way more than that.
we have a very, very fantastic admin team, that's
That's good.
our team, so help us out.
No, that's. Any other contact types? I use, like, for instance, I have my chamber contacts, people that I know from the Chamber of Commerce. So for instance, on Tuesday night, we're sponsoring a happy hour over at Crave from 4 to 6 p.m. So I'll message out to my chamber friends. Hey, don't forget this thing's coming up on Tuesday night. Free food, come have a beverage with us. You know, and we get people to show up. It's great. Sometimes I'll throw in there, if you respond, I'm in. You know, you'll be registered to win a $25 gift, something simple like that. But then that gets them engaged and responding. And of course, when I'm doing that on Twillo, it's a different number than my personal cell phone number. So I'm trying to get them used to responding to that number, knowing that it's me. It's not me directly, but it's still me. And that kind of exercises that opportunity in communicating with them. So that down the road, if I want to send out different types of communications, they're more receptive to it. And don't just delete it as junk or call it spam. Yeah, you could take any kind of contact with just about anything. Just well, that's the thing. At one point in Top Producer, I had over 120 different contact tags, and it was just kind of stupid at that point. I had to go back and go, okay, who are these people really, and how do we make sense of it? So you want to be careful not to overdo it as well.
I have my clients from a previous career that are tagged.
Mhm.
That's been interesting because they weren't good at first when I first started, involved them, they were like, hey, good luck, Scott, but now that I've circled back, I've had some traction with that group.
I got a theory. How many years have you been licensed now?
A little over 2.5.
Okay.
Close to 3.
I call it the 5-year hump.
Okay.
The first 2 or 3 years, your friends and people that know you probably won't do business with you. Because they've seen a dozen other people get their license and then leave the business a year or two later. And they're like, yeah, good luck, but I don't know that you know what you're doing yet, right?
Right.
And so it's actually easier the first couple of years to do business with people you don't know. Because they don't know how, green you are, right?
Right.
But once you get to, I call it the 5-year hump, then they start believing in you.
I got a couple of appointments now.
Yeah.
And that's the first time through that group that
Yeah.
I had that happen.
One of the guys was a groomsman in my wedding. And he went and bought a house and he used somebody else, blah, 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 and I was all butthurt over it, and it's a technical term. But then I was like, well, I guess at that point in my career, I wouldn't have used me either. Like, I had to really think about it. And then, of course, they moved to out of state, and then, yeah, I was the first person they called. Because I had reached that point now where I had legitimized myself in their mind as a successful real estate agent who knows what he's doing. And they came to, and I helped them with 3 or 4 transactions since they moved back into town, moved into a bigger house and so on and so forth. So.
Yeah.
Any other ahas there? Okay, cool. We'll keep on keeping on. So we're gonna start off in the capture category. As we are. Oh, we've talked about that already. Forward to the next slide. So we talked about the questions, how to get in touch, how to be in contact, right? It's the best way to communicate with them. The best is the way that they're gonna be more receptive to it. So as we connect, we want to embed our value proposition in the conversation, referring to things. One of my points in my marketing always is that we get our clients more money in less time, more money in less time, more money in less time. I say that throughout the listing appointment a few different times because I have a graph that shows that we get more money in less time. And that's what sellers want, less hassle, right? It's all about eliminating the hassle and getting them more money. So if you can prove that you can do that, more money in less time. Hopefully by the end of the listing appointment, they know that that's what we do, right? 101.2% of your asking price and only 8.5 days on market. That's a stat that I garnered. Actually, I think it was in 2022 stat. So I'll have to update it. Or 21. Yeah, forgot what year it is. So what we're gonna do here in this section, we're gonna do a little bit of role play. You guys been doing role play in this class?
Oh, yeah.
Or is it one of those things where we, I don't want to, no? So if you have a partner, somebody nearby you, we're gonna practice this conversation about connecting with possible leads, right? So go back to the previous section, right? Do a little bit of connecting, asking how to follow up with, right? And get them information. Does that make sense, everybody? Yep. Okay, grab a partner. We'll do this for about 10 minutes. Come back to some ahas and then take a break. Sound good? Does everybody have a partner?
Hey,
To practice.
what's up? What have you been doing? Really?
You haven't met yet. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Second.
Last.
So. How was
Right? That process. They use some research.
But She said there was different programs that they were there, not necessarily like other things, the name.
Dreams. Is there advice? Like change. One of my favorite things is, my favorite is
Yeah.
So. It's about calendar, right? We talked about that last week. You got a lot of time to yourself. And then 90 days later, they have a closing, and they're shut in. Open it in the back. So while you're doing this thing, and hoping this person, you still gotta keep checking on it. So that it builds out space wise. So like I'm looking at clients right now. Essentially doing it something. 1 second. But what can I do today? Great book called this year. They found that the average. Another. Oh, yeah. You get a bunch of. Yeah, that. Jolly good, right? But you don't remember that.
Right.
Same with chip or whatever. And so that's why. I'm not the number one worker in that person's line. Okay, I'm number two. Hopefully I can do number two long enough, so that number one goes away for whatever reason. I'm so old. I'm reading that. None of them. Where would you think my house? I'm trying and then has a gallery.
But you're fired, you know.
Good job. Oh, yeah.
Like, well,
So I would like. The next word.
All of the. Put it on. I get that.
You know. Stress. There did not.
Oh, yeah. You know, this is just. I'm not really. If I'm not. There's like.
Makes sense?
So it takes up a little bit of time. So. So, but now, I just.
All right, let's get back to the agenda here. Nick, we're getting back here to the agenda.
He was never on the other.
We're just talking about how good you look.
It has a lot of comments.
So practicing these conversations as much as you can outside of real client opportunities is important. Obviously, I was just sharing that the school hard knocks is the worst way to learn because you get the test before you know the answers, right? So find somebody close to you that you know well, that understands that you're trying to develop your ability to do what you do, and that's have conversations around the real estate. And practice those often. But eventually you got to take action, pick up the phone, start talking to real people. It's a lot of fun. Stay in curiosity. When you ask questions, you control the conversation, control the direction of that conversation. People want to talk about themselves. It's their most favorite topic. Just ask Kevin.
I'll make something.
And take notes, right? Pay attention to key indicators of things. I was just talking about how I'm a stalker on Facebook, right? I'll be scrolling through it all day long, and it's not to look at funny memes or the videos. It's to pay attention to what people are doing in their lives. So if I have a call pop up on my phone, somebody I haven't talked to in a while, I might hop on their Facebook quick and see, oh, they just took a trip. They were in Costa Rica. I kind of want to go to Costa Rica. Perfect. I can ask them about their trip to Costa Rica. So then I call them up. It's not, hey, what you been up to? How you doing? Want to buy or sell a house? No? Okay, bye. Right, like that's not gonna get us anywhere. Hey, I just saw you were in Costa Rica. What a fun trip. Those pictures look amazing. Tell me more about that. You know, right? And you can dive into these things. One of the acronyms that's always been in my back pocket is FORD, right? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. If you can't think of anything else to talk to these prospects about, ask them questions about them and their family and what they're up to, what they're doing for fun, right? So we got 6 connection questions that they provide here. Who are they? What do they want or need to do? Where do they need to do it? Why do they want to? And when? And how do they plan to, right? So if it comes to real estate, right? You're seeking some of the answers to those questions as you dig in with them. And they'll also help whoever you're talking or speaking with to open up, right? So these may or may not work for everyone, but it helps the framework of the conversation develop. So a lot of times if somebody's saying, you know, our youngest is a senior this year. Well, that's fantastic. Where are they planning to go to college? Dig into that a little bit. Well, that's great. Well, what are you going to do when you're empty nesters? Well, we plan to stay here for a couple of years and then maybe we'll downsize. Ding, 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 right? We're looking for some of those indicators. Hey, we got another one on the way and our 2-bedroom townhouse is going to be too small. Maybe we need a house, right? Time to move up. Ding, ding, ding. This is an opportunity. Is this something you want to accomplish before baby number 2 or 3 arrives, or is this something that you'd like to do once you've settled in? Right? Everybody wants to do it before the baby arrives, by the way. That's been my experience.
Yeah.
What was that, Bill? Oh, right. Yeah. Absolutely. So the who, what, where, when, why, all those kind of things. We're trying to fill in the blanks so that we can paint a picture as to how we can be of service to them. So if they're talking about looking for a house that has 3 bedrooms and maybe a particular part of town, you can possibly just, happen to come across one a couple days later and go, hey, you'll never guess what, I was out driving around and I saw this house and thought of you guys, right? Do that all the time. It's just a real safe way to kind of sneak in a real estate conversation, right? And see where they're at. All right. So shift page 105. Got a quote up there. You can't know or predict when they will come to a decision. But if you're reconnecting with them in a systematic way, you'll have a better chance of being there when they do. That's when you'll be able to close for an appointment, right? And there's a lot of different ways to do that close. I don't think you get into an ignite, but you know, there's the assumptive close. Sounds like we should meet. Are you available on Tuesday at 4 or would 6 o'clock be better, right? You're assuming that they want to meet with you, right? And then, and actually it was an alternate choice close too. That's another one. But a lot of those things just come kind of naturally as I've developed over the years, and everybody's got their own style. Of course, you want to do what's more receptive to that customer. What kind of closes do you use, Scott?
That's a good question.
How do you ask for an appointment?
I just say from the conversation usually leads, it sounds like
Yeah,
we should meet. And, you know, with Tuesday work, I've done that. I did that in the jewelry industry before.
sure.
And most people go, yeah, that's, or you give them the alternate, whereas others, I'll do that.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's as simple as meeting for coffee.
Yeah.
We give them something to look forward to.
Well, providing value, right?
Right.
Answering some of those questions. Because they don't know what they don't know. The average consumer equates the stress around buying or selling real estate with that of losing a relative to death, right? So you have death and then you have buying or selling homes right below that. On the flip side, they take us as realtors and they put us right below used car salesmen. So you got death and used car salesman is what you're competing with, right? That's why Kevin succeeds in real estate.
In any car you got.
So. But make sure you're documenting these conversations and keeping them all in your database so you have things to follow up on. You can ask about those, you know. You told me last time we talked about XYZ. How's that coming along? Did you end up going on that trip that you were dreaming about? You know, depending on how long it's been since you talked. Those kind of things. So making sure those conversations stay relevant. And I guarantee you, if you're not taking notes, you will forget them because there's no way that I can remember what 1,700 different people are doing on a 6 to 12 month basis. Sometimes I look at the name and go, wait a minute. Oh, and then I look at the notes and it starts to, you know, brings back that conversation. Then I can go back and have the right follow-up on it. So you don't want to sound like an idiot, right? Asking the wrong person about it. How's your dog Muffy? No, oh, well, that was Spot. Oh.
That's your kid. I don't have a kid. Oh.
Oh. Mic drop, Bill. Let's just go ahead and just agree that we don't use that one ever. For any. All right, kids, don't be like Bill.
The other thing, sometimes too, I've noticed is, especially on listings, they'll say, well, we still might be. We're looking to sell, but it might be 6 months to a year. And I've said, well, would it be helpful to at least know the process? We could
Sure.
just be comfortable about it. A lot of times I've had a couple where it's like, okay, they're ready to go right after the conversation.
Yeah, I was surprised. I got an email from a past client on Thursday. And he said, hey, we've been talking about maybe making a move. Do you have some time to meet up with us in the next week? And so I gave him my link to schedule. He grabbed a Saturday morning appointment. I went out there and I didn't think we were gonna list it. I didn't think that they were that far down the road, right? But I thought, I'm gonna grab a listing agreement just in case. You know, not the whole packet of all this stuff, but just the 7 pages in case they're ready to take action. And sure enough, they're like, yep, this is where we're at. This is where we want to, and I'm like, you know, spring market's hot. If you're not ready to get out there before Easter, it doesn't pay to rush it. Let's go the week after Easter. That's when, you know, stage 2 kicks in. And they're like, boom, boom, yes, let's do it. We're planning to go back down to Dallas on the 10th and look at houses. And perfect. By that weekend, maybe we'll have you sold the weekend after, you know, like it was all just kind of lined up. And I'm like, oh, well, look at that, you know? And of course, that's the highs and the lows of this real estate business, right? Some days things are up and you got closings and lots of new clients and opportunities, and then all of a sudden things fizzle out. I had just come off of a low the previous day on Friday. I lost a listing buy opportunity. It was interesting. Long story short, I had the paperwork. I was gonna sign her that night. But then it felt like we were getting a little too late. And to be honest with you, I had to get home because I had something with my kids going on. And so I just didn't push the paperwork at that time. And sure enough, they called me back 12, 14 hours later. Oh, we signed with somebody else. Like, you were ready to sign with me last night. Why did I sign? Can't get this up. That's the way it works, right? So I came off that one. But then all of a sudden, boom, the next one popped in. I was like, well, gotta roll with it. All right.
Signature matters. That was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, the lead conversion model is to move immediately from capture to connect to close. You're gonna find a small percentage of leads that won't be ready to convert to an appointment. That's okay, right? As we were saying, cultivate those opportunities. To keep mind share, you want to use a touch campaign to stay in communication, cultivate the relationship until they're ready for an appointment. I used to call it land, sea, and air. I always want to kind of touch them different ways, right? You got the phone, text, email, other means of communication, mail stuff, postcards, letters, you name it. There's a lot of different ways you can stay in touch. Obviously, they all come with a price. Some cost more time, some cost more money. Some you can do in bulk, some you can't, right? And so keep that cost per touch down, especially early in your business. It's easy to just focus on text and email. So, does everybody know how to do auto text? What's that called? Where you can enter something in the text message and it auto populates a message. No? No? We're gonna go off script. We're gonna teach you something new here. So if you have an iPhone, and I know there's a way to do this on the Android, just Google it and you'll find a YouTube video that shows you. But if you have an iPhone, I want you to go to the settings menu, hit general, okay? Scroll down to keyboard. And you see something called text replacement. It's the next bar. Click on text replacement,
Start that again.
settings. For those of you who are a little slower than the rest of us. Kevin, general. Keyboards. Text replacement. You see the plus sign on the top right corner? The phrase. Kevin is a moron.
I get that.
The shortcut for me will be KM. And I hit save. And now when I go over and I text Kevin Sutton. And I just type KM in the very middle of the text suggestions, right? Where the three different words and suggestions. Your text replacement pops in. And there we have Kevin is a moron. Bill, would you like me to send it to you as well?
I just got it.
Yeah. See, it's that simple.
I am a moron, it says so.
Now, so I can be a little more specific. I have one called KW App One. Right? And that says, are you tired of homes coming up sold or no longer on the market? Right? Download my KW app. Here's the link.
You can.
Yeah, you can type as long as it's phrase as you want. I have one for Keller Mortgage. Do you want to save thousands on your mortgage? Apply right here with Keller Mortgage today. And it goes my link so that they can go right into my Keller Mortgage app system, right? Or I could dig into that today because it's a whole nother class, but. I have scheduling. So I use Calendly, if you're familiar with that. So people can book 30 or 60-minute appointments with me. So my text replacement for that is schedule 30 or schedule 60. All I have to do is write schedule 60 in there. And then they get the link to schedule a 60-minute appointment with me, brings them right into my Calendly. And it schedules it right when they pick that time. I have them for using my moving truck, a couple different lead follow-ups. I have one called Home Anniversary. So when I call and they don't answer that phone call, happy anniversary, been in your home for 3 years, how are things going, blah, 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 right, I leave a voicemail. And then I quick pop over and I send them a text message. And it says, Matt Johnson from Keller Williams here, can't believe, you know, it's your anniversary when you bought your home. If you have any questions about real estate, feel free to let me know. Right?
Ask you a question. I'm from home. I'm on the laptop. How would you add the links to the text message?
You just have to add it in that phrase. So.
Okay.
Your iPhone will recognize the HTTP / blah, 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 and turn it into a link once it goes into the
Okay.
text.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then put in the whole entire thing that you would put on the bar up top.
Yep,
Okay,
yeah, when you enter the phrase.
all right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep, and I'm gonna delete my cam, just so you don't feel bad, Kevin. I also got a happy birthday one. Yeah, anything that you find yourself sending a lot of text messages about.
Yeah.
Just create a little text replacement in there and save yourself time and energy.
Thanks for teaching that.
Yeah, that's,
Absolutely.
that's my, oh, my.
Yeah. Another thing,
Your settings
yeah,
actually correspond with mine pretty.
Oh, really?
I was gonna say that for us non-iPhone users, it's the same process.
it was exactly, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and like I said, there's probably a YouTube video on it too, but yeah, that's cool.
That was funny that you said that because my fiance tells me that all the time. He's an iPhone user and he's like, just Google it. I'm
Yeah.
like, thanks.
Nice. In fact, but yeah, I have little phrases for different types of leads, different lead systems that I, have set up already. Whether they're on my website or another website or however they come in, just, it's an easy way to knock out some communications and not have to type a whole ton of words into there. So. Cool. As you start to implement your touch campaigns, you can always pursue creating your own stuff to fit your business needs. It's recommended that you start with the 3 that have been introduced first. So you have solid understanding of how touch campaigns work. So the 3 touch campaigns, obviously, buyer sellers, and what's the other one? Oh, connect, cement, and convert. Sorry. You may have learned about that earlier. All right. Everybody ready to take a break?
Yes.
I gotta do the same. My coffee's hit me.
The worst.
So we'll get back here, what, 10, 15 minutes? What do you guys usually do? 10 minutes? All right, 10:20.
Great.
Ready?
Good stuff. I think I remember, no, medias. This is like.
Yeah, Nick, we're gonna take. Hey, you do this. That would be. Should I put it?
Some sort of.
I'm recently going on some demo that I've done. That my student line got a sale. Seriously, when I read them out. If she gets a lot of that. Yeah, whereas others, opportunity to at least chat to see, yeah. See if that would be a good fit. I think it's right, and if you don't get it a good fit, be like, oh, perfect.
My favorite.
Thank you for like my requests get like
And I agree too.
get lost in my notifications, but it's still being message. Awesome.
But.
That's a lot easier.
I lose them both. Careful. I got it.
What are you doing? Getting dancing on here, dancing. I know.
Oh, you did?
That's the dog.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, this was versus like everything going, it's been empty and now they're gonna go demolish it and it's gonna go.
Oh, okay.
So I'm still waiting for that.
Oh,
Maybe they'll
and
make
it's a contract?
Yeah,
Oh,
they did.
Or they accept the verbally, so they can sign.
You're right, yeah. Yeah.
Where was that property?
That'll be,
Because, but it's a good job.
that'll be.
Battle. What was the price?
Yeah, we are 274 sellers being closed.
But
Then they went up to 3 sellers being closed.
just try to,
But
the buyers,
yeah.
the buyers.
How did you get?
We get into this.
Oh. No, it was a referral from my sister sold the
In
mom.
this kind of.
Oh, yeah. Please, mayor, on your city.
Yeah,
Salaries.
yeah,
Good, it's busy probably.
then I got another, I got 2 weeks. One of them, friend like, she's my old neighbor, she's like, hey,
I'm having my.
she's looking for a home, but she doesn't think through all of my friends, everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks.
I was thinking that my story, when I was here in the United States. Local, I mean, I couldn't speak English very well, I just got a job local. And then 2 years here, my brother came to me and said, you need to buy a house, and I look at it, are you, where are you? What do you think? And he said, just go there. I didn't know it was a process. I started the process and I learned the process. I did. And that was the time that I, like, there's houses.
Yeah, so
I
that.
can't believe it. But it was, it was awesome experience. I got a good information.
I like seeing that, you know.
Yeah, and it was nice. First time we were $7,000.
Yeah,
$1.
yes.
And it was good. And
I've got another weird one, but I don't know. It's like. Trailer homes, and I'm like, sure, I can help. I have no idea what I'm gonna do.
There's somebody now. She's so.
Well, that's what I figured, somebody here.
You know,
I don't think you can tell. I don't know. I said, I find out.
But you can-
It's one of my favorites. The guy on the line that says I can't do anything, so I'm taking the money.
So technically you can. But it's a whole different sales, with DMV number and all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah, figured somebody would get this going on. I just didn't want to get her work.
The one thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe that.
I mean, you can select. In there, a minute.
Like, I need something underneath.
Oh, can't we?
Capitalization.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But the thing is, like, yeah, go
Yeah, that was definitely, yeah. Well, are you leaving?
No, I've got a client that's, and then they're gonna sell those and they're like, here.
You want- Okay, sounds good.
That's the problem, is I never trusted the trees. What you say? Alligator. Yeah.
You'll want it.
Well, I do the floor plan, you know, it's part of my job, I do my floor plan. In Woodbury,
But
under.
see how much work for tax.
Well, I have rooms and three, the guys are gonna actually stands like city college.
Do you remember in real estate school? when they taught us trees?
Yeah.
I didn't,
Should be, yeah.
there's some real estate agent. that they-
Oh, he didn't, oh, actually, I have one of your days.
Make sure you measure the wall space. Yeah, those. It is, you gotta try that out. Probably it's not. Yeah, they're running on the exterior. Look at the total finish.
Okay, thank you.
Couple more minutes, we'll get going again.
Yeah. Those things are just not publishing. I'm gonna be like, this doesn't work, I don't need to do it again. But it keeps working, so it's just like, take it. Right? I feel like they're hard, but I have to be careful, because they're just like, oh, yeah, they have to release things. Didn't even know, because it's- Yeah. It's like you gotta. Look at, if I use that, you can just, you can. For me, and we can say. Is he, to learn? Yeah. So working on anything. Maybe, right. I think it's like, just because I'm looking to get. $5,000 for nothing. I'm like, find out, I'm like, I this would be. Just like, the rest was like, save it. Do all of your- like saying.
Kind of regret not. So say you want.
Yeah. 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 We did that for, set up like a graduation party.
It's me, I'm gonna see how they go. I need to know. Let me know how
All right. Well, with or without them, I'm gonna get this party started again. Cause I got stuff to do today. I don't really, but I like to think I do.
make something.
Yeah, there you go. So we're in the cultivate stage, right? We talked about reconnecting. They use this analogy, this 1 to cement and 36 to convert, obviously the system in place. For leads to get an appointment, shift reminds us that you can't know or predict when they'll come to decision, right? And as I said earlier, connecting with them in a systematic way, you'll have a better chance of being in front of them when it matters. Where were you guys, and did the cake just run out? Oh.
Actually, it's true. Sorry.
So it's all about closing for the appointment, right? So next, we're gonna flip over to the close page. In your participant guide, you find more information on different types of closes to use when you role play and practice in conversations. You can use the resource after Ignite, obviously, as well. So closing is when you ask for the appointment. Think of it in this framework. You are concluding one conversation and seeing if there is a new one that can take place, right? It's a transition to bridge those two conversations. It's your responsibility to ask for the appointment. Remember, we're salespeople. You have to ask for the sale. Just like the touches you use to stay in emotional proximity have varying degrees of effectiveness, so does the format in which you ask for the close. You could do that in a text message, in an email, or a phone call, and obviously in person. So which format of closing do you think is the strongest or the most effective out of these four? How many believe it's A? B? C?
I think A.
I think
D? All right. Yes.
B and B. I feel like it can be all of them depending on the person, because everybody likes to be contacted.
Which is the most receptive way to the person you're communicating. Absolutely. And we talked about that earlier. In terms of the cultivate phase, right? And so in the close, absolutely, it's in whatever capacity you're having that conversation, right? Is a good way to ask for that close. But as we know, right, a postcard is a one-way communication, right? A text message can be a two-way communication, a little back and forth on that. As is an email, right? Maybe emails can be a little less personal though, and obviously with everybody's inbox being filled with spam, it might just get missed. Phone call, right? The next best way. And in my opinion, the most efficient way of having a lot of two-way conversations about real estate. But as they say, getting belly to belly, face to face, right? That in person, right? Is always going to be the most effective way in terms of getting a yes, right? So, but at the end of the day, I can't get in person with 25 different people that live all around the Twin Cities on a Monday morning. But I can get on the phone with them, right? And if I can't get them on the phone, I can get them with a text. To at least maybe get some kind of back and forth, right? And of course, you gotta think about the quality of these leads. Are these people that you've done business with before? Are they people you've just met? Are they people who you've never met before, right? So there's a lot of different varying capacities of their need to transact or interest, as well as your ability to get in front of them. So. Of course, so as they say here, the least effective is in writing or text, obviously, and then phone and in person. Best. Moving on, when you're setting the appointment, what are some important elements to schedule, right? What are we trying to get when we're scheduling for an appointment? Well, that's the goal, right? That's the next step from an appointment to an active customer. That's that next conversion, right? But what are some things to consider when scheduling the appointment? Right?
Their time. Availability.
Availability,
Kids.
sure. Time of day.
Both decision makers, and
That's absolutely, yeah, yeah. That's the worst, isn't it, Scott?
yeah,
You sit down and here's the dirty little secret. You sit down with the person that's not actually making the decisions.
right.
The one that's the shot caller sent them out as a Trojan horse for you. And then you sit there and you go, oh, yeah, oh, it's great, oh, yeah, so, okay, yeah. All right, you ready to do business? Well, I gotta check with my wife. It's the truth of it.
Yeah.
And as much, you're talking to a C-level executive who runs a big Fortune 500 company, he's still gotta check with his wife. Cause he knows what's right, right? Just saying. That's just the way it is. And that's how you find out who the decision maker is too. It's usually the one that talks less when you have them both at the table. But when you're scheduling, it's absolutely, will all the decision makers be able to be present at 4 o'clock on Thursday? Right? Because why go on the appointment if you can't get a decision? The answer is because you're building rapport and you're just trying to increase that relationship. And that's not a bad thing either. But you also got to decide what in this stage of your business are the most important appointments you're going to, right? So time of the day, days of the week, who's going to be present? Are they ready to make a decision? Right? Some of my favorite things. Hey, if we go through all the information on the market and agree on a price and a timeline that may be best for you to make the move, would you be ready to move forward with me on Thursday at 4? They say no, then why? How can I overcome that objection, right? Objections are just a request for more information. Well, it's because we got to interview my sister who just got a real estate license. Oh, that's fantastic. Is there any reason you couldn't get together with her before our appointment at 4 o'clock on Thursday? And if they say yes, then this is my little, will you promise me, because I'm going to be doing a great deal of time and energy into getting prepared for our appointment, promise me that you won't sign anything or move forward with anybody else before our appointment Thursday, right? Because I've found that even though realtors, according to statistics, typically sign with the first person they meet, that's because they only meet one person. And why that statistic exists the way it does, when they are going to meet with multiple people, they a lot of times do want to interview multiple people. And so when you go in there as the first person, I found that I'm just not an effective, like, sign with me today or else kind of closing, right? That's not my style. That's not my personality. It wouldn't resonate well with me as a seller. So why would I try to put it on them? However, I can get them to promise to meet with me and not sign anything else before, right? That way, they've had the other appointment or appointments. We go over what we do, right? And it's actually kind of a pain in the ass for them to bring one of those other people back. So if you think that we agree on the price, marketing program, you think I'm able to sell your home, I'm going to be the best person to represent you in this purchase, then why can't we move forward? Because then they got to look you in the eye and tell you that you suck. And they're afraid to hurt your feelings. And that's good because that wins you the client. That's what this is all about in the first place. Because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And it works. in your favor.
Hi, Abby.
Hello? Michelle?
Uh-oh, sorry.
How you doing? All right. Moving on from the close phase, we are getting into another quote here from the Shift. Has everybody had a chance to read Shift? No? Shift happens. I remember when they wrote the book and they went on tour and Dave and not Dave, I'm sorry, Gary Keller and what was the dude's name? Tony DeCello. Tony DeCello. Remember him? He was a Remax guy for many, many years, came to KW around 2000, something in that range. And he did the Shift tour with Gary. Actually, it was at Jimmy's up in White Bear Lake, I remember. And my favorite statement from this thing, and it's like probably the only thing I remember from that whole one-day class, was you want to be the firstborn, the second wife, and the third realtor. Because if you've had two realtors tell you what to do already and you didn't agree to do it, and your home's still for sale, then that third realtor, you're probably gonna listen to what they say finally, right? So it was his firstborn, second wife, third realtor. So far, that's working out for my wife. In the end, if they can meet and have a good enough reason to meet, they will meet. And if they don't, they won't. And that's okay. You really don't care what their answer is ultimately, because you're not getting people to do anything they don't want to do, right? You're just going to ask and respond until they agree that meeting makes the most sense, or it doesn't. Either way, you both win, right? I've never, ever, ever sold a house in 20 years and almost 1,000 closings. I've never had a client call me back and go, Matt, we were out there that weekend and you sold us that house and we didn't even know we wanted to buy it, right? No, buyers pick homes based on what's available in the market to them. They're doing comparison shopping. We're guiding them through a conversation. Sales have to happen for us to have income, but we don't like do a song and dance and all of a sudden they buy the house and they didn't like, right? We're selling our services. That's what we're selling. We're selling the ability to help them through the transaction, guide them along every step of the way, educate them as to the decisions they need to make and what that process looks like, and then ensure that their best interests are represented from start to finish. That's what we're selling. We position homes to be sold as listing agents. We help them decorate, photography, and all the great things that make them look pretty online and get people through the door and position them well with good pricing, right? But we don't actually sell a house. We're not actually there for the showing. We typically don't even meet the buyer now with COVID closings, right? Who shows up to closings anymore? I don't know. So turn in the KW belief system to your participant guide. And we just went through the quote. What of the Y4C2Ts does this statement remind you of? Very obvious. Out of the Y4C2Ts, right? The acronym for win-win, integrity. I don't remember the rest. I've been here for 20 years. I should know it. There's a cute little dance that goes with it.
Trust, equity, and success.
Okay, I've never even heard that.
Took it out of my mouth. Y4C2Ts. It should be in your participant guide somewhere.
Yes, Page 11.10.
There you go. Page 11.10. Let's all read them together. Marjorie just said she's never heard of it in her life. That's on the wall somewhere. Isn't it?
Somewhere.
Or was, I don't know. All right. Win-win,
Or no deal.
integrity,
Customer base. Always come first.
yes,
Commitment in all things.
communication,
Seek first to understand.
creativity,
Ideas will results.
teamwork,
Together and achieve teamwork.
trust,
Starts with honesty,
Equity
opportunities for all.
and success.
Like,
And I just learned something. I forgot or didn't know they added the E, equity. So if you read through this quote that I just shared, which one of those does it resonate most with?
The win-win.
Yeah.
Win-win is an obvious one. Yeah. What else? I might say integrity,
Integrity.
because you're not trying to talk them into doing something they don't want to do, right? You're trying to help them make choices.
I
about their
think
housing.
trust in communication.
Right.
Seeking first understand.
Yeah, coming from curiosity, I like to call that,
All of the.
to some degree. Yeah. To some degree, they absolutely do. Very good. And obviously, the point of that is that we discuss why. So. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. All right, any ahas so far besides the phone thing I shared with you earlier? But take that one off the table. Low hanging fruit, sorry, Kevin.
More money less time.
I like the different ways to ask for flow,
Right,
because it puts it, I know what I do, but
Yeah.
it puts a label on the way it shows me other options.
yeah. And a lot of times you actually need to try a few of those
Yeah,
in the conversation. Right, just kind of testing the waters. You know, it's a very soft one. It sounds like we should meet, right?
yeah.
Based on what I'm hearing is maybe you want some more information and it wouldn't hurt for us to schedule a time to get together, right?
Yeah.
Any other ahas?
I like the pop-up line event.
Yeah,
Good idea.
Yeah, the text auto. Sure, that was pretty cool.
and the pop-up thing, it doesn't have to be extravagant. I mean, you could get permission from the city to use one of their parks on a Saturday. Bring your grill and some food and be like, hey. Come by on Saturday for a couple hours, let the kids play in the playground, we can catch up on. Grilling food, and just keep it simple. It's about connecting with people, it doesn't have to be the most elaborate or extravagant, prom. Event with a live band. Oh, that'd be cool. Anything else, ahas? Nope. Okay. Moving on. Improve your conversion rates. So refer to your conversion rates in the participant guide. What page is that? Conversion rates? 1111. So you learn the model, steps and actions it takes to convert leads to an appointment. We're going to dig deeper here into what a conversation rate is and how it can inform your business decisions. Your conversation rate refers to the percentage of leads you ask for an appointment to those that agree to the appointment, right? So for example, if you ask 10 leads for an appointment and succeed in setting 8 appointments, that's an 80% conversion rate, right? So your ultimate goal is to increase your skills so that you can continue to convert the highest percentage possible. The higher the percentage, the more leads have converted to appointments. If you're converting at a low percentage rate, this should tell you that you have a lead conversion challenge. The challenge is not the number of leads generated, but then it becomes your ability to get them to an appointment, right? So think about it this way too. I hear a lot of realtors be like, I convert 100% of the appointments I go on. Well, you're only grabbing the low hanging fruit then, aren't you? Right? Because I tell you what, 2008 through 2012, when I was going on expired listing appointments and they were interviewing 3, 4, or 5 realtors in that process, there was a lot of head banging on the wall going on for me. In fact, I had to go on about 4 or 5 appointments just to get one listing. And that's okay, because you know who's going after expired listings in a down market? The best of the best. People who are really grinding and working that other 20% of the business, not just their sphere and their past clients or their referrals, which is that low hanging fruit, but the grind, go make it happen business, right? And I was going up against some really great agents and I was honored to be on those appointments in the first place, right? And I knew that I had to work harder and smarter and show up on my A game to convert those leads. Whereas when I went over on my client's appointment, it was a Saturday morning in Roseville that I was telling you about. They weren't talking to anybody else. They knew they wanted to work with me. I earned their business back in 2017 when they bought that. And I've been in touch with them on their anniversaries. They've been getting birthday cards. Keep in touch about their kids and the dog and whatever they got going on in life, right? It was what I call a come list. Right? There's only a handful of things that I could have said or done to look like Kevin Sutton and lose that appointment on Saturday morning. Just so y'all know, I am friends with Kevin. And we do hang out from time to time outside the office. So when I rip on him, it's just because he would do the same to me.
That probably right.
So any questions before we move on this conversion piece? Because it's going to become important as we count our leads and start accruing conversions to a contract that's either a buyer rep or a seller rep, right? And eventually get them under contract to buy or sell a home. And those rates will funnel down and we can continue to build our business based on our goals. So sometimes the lead conversion is based on the total number of leads in your database. Sometimes it's just based on the leads that are being cultivated at a current time. So what is more important is to evaluate your business and what works for you, and then repeat the same measure of success each time you calculate your conversion rate. So people do it differently, is what the answer is at the end of the day. But you got to do it the same way for yourself over time. You can start to understand as opportunities come into your business, how can you increase your effectiveness at harnessing that and creating a contract for a buyer or seller rep, okay? So there is a conversion rates page on your participant guide. Where is that found? Page 11, what? You 1111? All right. So I want you guys to take an opportunity to go through this spreadsheet here. We see. Understanding these numbers. In your business. And if you don't have any specific numbers, just make some up, maybe some goals, right? Think about, how many people do you want to talk to? My goal is always to talk to 20 people a day, 5 days a week, 100 a week. Why is that? Still, because we are full.
Yeah, that's right, we're cold.
You have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I've noticed that too. Purple memo went out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wearing purple.
It's, be honest with y'all, I just got this one.
No, you didn't, we heard you.
But yeah, go through and crunch the numbers based on your goals or your business or what you hope to achieve. This all built into what we call the economic model, which is my favorite part of the MREA. That's where we calculate how much money we can earn. And that equals how big of a boat I can buy someday. Life goals.
You're in the ship stacks.
I'd call it a yacht. Wife hates that.
Yeah.
Honey, should we go to the yacht this weekend? Joined the yacht club last year. It's actually cheaper to be a member than you would think.
How much is it?
You gotta drop $3,000 to get in and then another 800 to get.
Okay, that's not even so good.
But they own 2 different beaches that are really nice. You can plug into electricity and turn on your air conditioner. Instead of running the generator, yeah.
Fancy.
Because when you're parked on a beach on a boat, you need your air conditioning. I found that my wife does to sleep. Cause you get this like background noise, the hush of the fan running. Yeah. And it pulls all the humidity out of the air, so it's not stuffy.
My canoe has air conditioning too.
Yeah.
Breeze.
Yeah.
Mother Nature.
Gotta get a kayak. Gotta get a kayak first.
All you need is the, spray bottle. Just, pull yourself down.
It's a little battery fan. My son got one of those in Disney last week. The battery fan with the little mister. Yeah.
Those actually, I mean.
He lost it within about an hour. He was
Oh,
spraying
nice.
his sisters, yeah.
Oh, he got,
That's
not
fair.
that he like lost track of it, he just
No, he-
got taken back.
Yeah, it went in my backpack after that.
You should have just sprayed him.
Bad cat, bad kid. No.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what I should do is
I do.
sneak some hot sauce in it on him. Oh,
Well, that's.
just read that.
no, because then he's gonna spray on his sister.
All right, has everybody had a chance to go through some numbers? Do the calculations, have any questions?
As far as like thinking.
Scott, you got an example you want to share?
I actually don't, I'm still.
Oh. Okay,
I'm sorry.
Kevin, have you cranked out any numbers, Doug? No? Anybody? Bueller?
I'm actually cheating on this.
Denise, do you have numbers you want to share?
No.
Sure. Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, and there's, as you see, there's some different levers in there, right? Either you need to generate more leads, you need to be more effective in converting those leads, right, to appointments. Or then it gets to the appointments to converting them to business. And as you work through those different layers of lead conversion. Keller has like an 80-20 as kind of a rule of thumb. In the economic model, so if you've been to the business planning classes that we put on from time to time, the economic model, we usually say that. I think it's 80% of the buyers you meet with will do business with you. Something like that, it's your conversion rate. The seller side usually a little less. Sellers are more likely to interview multiple people.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I'm good at keeping track of my touches.
Yeah,
But I have a deep dive on conversions.
well, and are you getting the response rate out of those, right?
Yeah.
They talk about the 33 touch should be generating so many opportunities through your database. Well, then you gotta look at the quantity or the quality of who you're touching. Those are the metrics. And in a down market, if you read the shift book, right? Generally, they say you gotta ramp those things up because less people are gonna be moving. Right? In an average year, 7 out of every 100 homeowners are gonna need to sell. I'd argue that's probably gonna be about 5 this year. Because a lot of them are boomers sitting in a 2.75, 3% mortgage. Why would they? This is the cheapest homeownership's ever been for them. So they're gonna have to wait a little bit longer until the pain of being in that big house outweighs the pain of having to jump up to a 6 or 7% mortgage. Or maybe they're just cashing out, good for them if that's a possibility, right? But they're really thinking that, hey, that's, they're gonna be sticking with homes a little bit longer. I read an article this morning in Inman. All right, we're gonna look at ways to improve our conversion rates. So hop over to the conversion rates page. Once you understand what your conversion rate is, you can move from E to P. You may know what moving from E to P is, entrepreneurial to purposeful, right? Taking action purposefully in your business. It's from day one, and it's part of the KW6 personal perspectives. This is when you get more purposeful in improving your conversion rate. Gaining insight and getting more purposeful will ultimately bring you more closed transactions. Some activities you can engage in or improve your conversion rates might include time blocking for lead conversion. Remember, time blocking in your calendar, if you erase, you must replace. You don't want to just write over these activities and then not go back to them. Using conversions and systems, practicing your conversations, right? Scripting, role-playing, dialogues, asking for the close, mastering your buyer and seller presentations, and of course, building relationships Conversations are a powerful tool and can help you say what you intend to say in the most powerful and impactful way, right? Impactful way. So use systems to support your lead conversion in your business. These systems help make sure you take the right steps at the right time to continue to keep and gain mind share. I was talking earlier with, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, Shanae, about mind share. There's a really good book that the MREA is based on called Mind Share by Al Reese and Jack Trout. A couple of old marketing guys from back in the day. And I actually own that book. And I'm going to use my text replacement. I'll call you back. I'm in a meeting. That's where that stuff comes from. Right? Anyways, Al Reese and Jack Trout did a study and they found that the average consumer can only remember 2, maybe 3 people in their brain for any type of service or product provider. I used the soda example earlier, but what's a brand of potato chips? Shout one out. So Frito-Lay makes Lay's. I think they make Doritos too.
Cape Cod.
Old Dutch. Yeah. But you can only remember a handful of them, right? That's like Coke, Pepsi, and then like Shasta or Jolly Good, right? Like you don't really think about them. You know they're there, but Ruffles have ridges, Bill. It's the same for real estate agents. It's the same for dentists. It's the same for lawyers, right? You have your mind share, you're number 1 or 2, or you probably don't matter if you're 3 or worse, right? And so just as I was using an example earlier that, you know, one of my clients, they had their family guy that they turned to, but he passed away. Hey, I scooted into number 1 position and I got to list and sell their house, right? So you want to be number 1, and if you can't, you want to be number 2 long enough to become number 1.
You can even ask that.
Yeah, everybody turn and wave at Ann. Hi, Ann. All right.
I've noticed with that second place, nobody will ever disagree with that.
Right.
I understand, can I be in second place?
Yeah.
And they laugh and they go, you bet.
Can I be a close number 2 unless things change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with Katie.
Was it?
Yeah, it's my envelope guy. I always do that.
Oh, Harvey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that book. Yep, I got that from a lender years and years ago. He's a Minnesota guy, actually. Yeah. All right, so don't neglect any part of your database. Reconnect with each and every person, and when you do, ask for referrals. Conversation activities are not just for leads, they're also for your sphere of influence, contacts, etc. Come from care, curiosity, and contribution, and get back in relationship with past clients, right? One of my favorite calls to make if I haven't talked to somebody for a year or so, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I haven't been in touch. It's been a year since we last talked, right? They're going to accept your apology. They haven't called you either, right? And then you can get on with business. Now you don't want to dive into the like referral stuff right away. You might want to soften them up with a little, how are the family? What's new? Have you done any updates on the house? You know, I remember you were talking about going to Europe. Did that ever happen? Right? Find out what's going on in their world, in their life. But if you do it well, eventually you'll get to that opportunity where you can see if there's a need for business. So know who to prioritize. In an upcoming session in the lead follow-up segment, you're going to learn how to prioritize potential clients. You were sharing earlier about your ABCD system in your team and how that works. It's a great way to do it. If you're like me, you probably just focus on the A's and then maybe a couple of B's, but I don't really have room in my time for C's and D's anymore. Because I'm the Costco dad now, but it's all right. So every lead has the potential to turn into business. With lead conversion model, you've learned number 1, capture the appropriate information so you connect, right? You have to be able to communicate with them. Phone, email, address, land, sea, and air. Connect to assess their needs. That's over the conversation and cultivating phase, building a relationship. As you cultivate the relationship, not all people are going to convert directly. We all don't have a need to do business today. but something may change. And so the more often you're in touch, the more likely you are to be present when that need comes. A lot of times it's funny you called. Actually, just the other day, we were talking about X, Y, and Z, right? Like, I got this theory that the world kind of brings people in and out of our lives for reasons. And sometimes I'll be driving down the road and I'll be like, oh, I haven't talked to so-and-so in a while. Actually, again, back to my Saturday appointment, not to beat the dead horse, but I stumbled across Andrew's Facebook profile on Wednesday. Don't tell anyone, but planning a surprise birthday party for my wife. And I was searching another Andrew, but Andrew popped up. And I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to Andrew in a while. I should give him a call. And the next day I got the email from him. It's like, oh, look at this. Like, why does it happen? There's a reason that happens. Follow up on those thoughts, follow up on those ideas. You'd be surprised what happens. And then, of course, close by asking for the appointment. You are in control of the ask. You are the salesperson. It's your job to move that relationship forward. And again, no just means not yet. Doesn't mean never. It means not yet. And that's okay. Ask Nick.
So I got married.
Huh.
He's so lucky.
Persevered.
All right. Oh, I missed a few things. The slides, my bad. Capture, connect, cultivate, and close is where I left off right there. Any ahas? From the last phase of our class.
I think it's important to make sure that we're tracking the conversations we're having in the conversion rate.
Yeah.
So that we can better plan for how many people we're going to actually contact and be more purposeful in the region in that way.
Yeah, like for instance, in the bold, when you're having 100 real estate conversations, you wind up getting about 7 to 13 appointments. And if you can go on that many appointments in a week, you're gonna do real well. Half of those will be direct appointments, half of them will be referrals.
Bold sense.
Can you list off the average number of sales per year and any stuff
For what?
last year versus this year?
Oh, 5 transactions. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, per licensee?
yeah.
Yeah, 2012 was around 13. And then 2021 was like 7.25. And I'd be surprised if it's 5 this year. But that's because we went from 800,000 realtors to 1.6 million. Because when the perception is when the market's good for whom, right? Just means that homes are selling a little quicker. It's not really good for anyone, honestly. That's when people want to come into our industry.
I think it's easy.
The challenge is it's not HGTV. It's this. Connect, capture, cultivate, close. If you don't enjoy that, be a short career in real estate. We've all heard of the DISC test, right? Keller Williams says the KPI or KPA. Yeah, KPI is a key performance indicators. KPA is the Keller Williams version of the DISC. There's a few others out there, Myers-Briggs, things like that. The Strengths Finder is one that I had done at one time. I am one of less than 2% of Americans. I am a woo personality. I'm a woo and a maximizer. So a maximizer is somebody who likes to like big picture, make the biggest impact with the smallest amount of input, right? A woo, I want everybody to like me, right? I feed off of that. And so my favorite part of real estate is conversion. Because I get to sit on the phone, connect, and get them to agree to meet the appointment. And when I get to the appointment, I get to see them face to face. And I get to connect and try and get them to want to do business. be honest with you, once I get past that point, when we sign the listing agreement, sign the buyer agreement, I'm kind of done with them. Now I gotta go do all that other stuff that actually ends up with income. That's necessary. But as far as my personality goes, that's not my favorite. I'm not a checklist person, I'm not a detailed person, you know what I mean? So the people I brought into my life and my business that do marketing, that do transaction coordination, that do all the behind the scenes stuff to make that work, have to fill in those gaps, so that I can just stay on the phone and talk to more people. That's where I get energy. That excites me. Any other ahas? We're gonna dive next into a little bit of success system. So we wrap up our learning here in this session, transition to the success system. Do you feel that you've come to understand the lead conversion model? This is the part where you talk.
Yeah.
You think you can further develop your system for capturing, cultivating, and closing on leads? Know how to apply proven methods to increase your conversion rate? Some ideas on that, right? So how's your mindset now? You guys excited to go out and do some conversion? To increase our lead conversion, our effectiveness in conversations? Awesome. So make sure we take those 6 connecting questions from earlier and start applying them in your conversations. You'll be amazed at how much you deepen your relationships with those around you. Remember, that was the who, what, why, where stuff. So each day at Ignite, you grow in how you think, feel, and act, and implement what you've learned. From learning and ahas, you move toward achievement of your big life, big goals. And that's what we're here for, right? So write in your participant guide how you've grown in these key areas. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to do that. How you've grown in the 5. Nick? Okay. Get a dunce cap for you. I don't know why teachers don't do that anymore.
You can be taller, Nick.
For my legs. This is a cold throw. Happy Monday.
Everybody got some ahas down? Some key areas that you want to develop in your business? And how has your thinking changed? How do you feel differently? What do you feel differently about? Right? What actions will you take? Tools, models, systems that you can implement to make you more accountable. I know a lot of people have lead generation sheets where you just have 1 8x12. And you write down how many calls you make, how many contacts, how many appointments you set. They can be very brief, very simple, right? Because now electronically we're putting those notes into our system, in our database. Hopefully you're all using command or something like that. All right, success system. So for the next 3 hours, we're going to work on our success system. No? Ah. I kid. This is stuff that's your job. It's your job as a real estate agent. Remember, you don't have any customers, you're unemployed. So these are things that you can and will be doing on your own. The success system, obviously. Keep tracking your conversations, people in your sphere, your database, sending out handwritten notes, gratitude. These are real things. I do these in my business. In a busy, hot market, they fell by the wayside, right? During the COVID years, I was busy teaching kids school at home, and making sure they were on their class Zooms and filling out their homework stuff and whatever. And that all fell by the wayside. But in 2021, when I started seeing that the market would chill out in 22, I got back into action. I got very intentional about making contacts. I still am nowhere near what I was able to do in the mid, like, what, 2014, 15, 16. When I was getting divorced in 16, there's no more motivation to selling real estate than having to pay attorney bills. 2016, I sold 62 homes that year. That number went down every year since then. But the good news is the homes got bigger and more expensive, so my income didn't. But, you know, didn't have my kids half the time, so I just got busy selling homes. 2016 was an amazing year. Financially, which didn't hurt me in the long run because I had to pay more out. The joys. All right, has everybody got some ahas down? Just remember, your job is lead generation. The activity generating leads is the foundation of your business. There are people that we can do business with. We don't have the opportunity to have those conversations, convert them. Make sure you pay attention to do not call lists and all that. Cold calling, what? I get some feedback, question? And have you guys been doing the role play and stuff before the success, or where are we at on that?
So some people have us doing some of it.
Let's look at our conversation from earlier today. Grab a partner or two. And just practice going through those questions. We'll get back together one more time in 10 minutes after you have those conversations. So at 11:20. We'll shut it down and be out of here by 11:30. Sound fair? All right. I know you're not doing it on your own because Doug smiled at me.
I did.
She thinks like high school was at his homework.
I see. You
Real life to your
Yeah, it's too bad. Have you been looking for your dream? Oh, all the time.
No, I still need a blanket.
Oh, wow.
I'm not gonna look at my.
I don't want to think she's doing. I don't want to sponsor. They just like.
Oh, really? We'll have to take a look. Are there homes over there too?
Thank you. Like. It's nice. Like. I can make. This is for the years. I think
the question I have is what I asked is.
right now I'm creating my.
I mean, if they. I try to every time. Continual. People know.
I know there's stuff going on my social media around like that.
Second. I have.
Oh, why?
Not being relevant when they might have.
And I'm like, are you here? Florida or Georgia? Remember?
It's hard for me to find a middle.
Yeah. Oh, that are all. Yeah. You don't.
I think it's kind of.
I think that, you know, sometimes I feel so far and there's.
Tell me more.
It's like you don't want to get into the day to day.
I'm doing that, but then if I do that, then it's. I don't feel like I'm gonna stay on top of it, so.
Like, for example, because like if I start posting.
I mean, what the questions I like to use next, outside of here are things like.
Oh, what did you say?
Yes, yeah. Have you thought about moving in the next 5 years?
Yes.
Like, no one can say no
Oh, just later.
for the most.
Why you said Ella?
Do you think there's a chance that we might move in the next 5 years?
Always.
There's always a chance that you can't say no.
I guess, yeah, I just say.
Yeah, I just saw this house that we, that, has an has a lake front, and I thought,
prior conversation 3 weeks ago, you said something about.
No.
Like, you think there's a chance that you might be in the next 5 years?
Oh, my God.
They can't say no. Very good.
You know, I like love to say this.
It's not, it's just things that I keep an eye out for you. Yes. Were you thinking you might maybe possibly kind of sort of fight move someday? Sure.
You know, I got an opportunity, but I don't have to be.
Yeah. And I don't-
That's her, and Teddy.
Yeah, no, I. Having those meetings.
You beating me?
Yeah.
What the hell? That we're friends. Well, guess I'll take you off that list. Maybe the others.
Oh, gosh. Stop her.
But it seems like. we go from-
Yeah, it's really late.
I did not fully read there's no.
Send to RSVP, totally forgot to do that, and then also send on the back, so don't worry.
Yeah. Seven, how do you keep in contact?
And I
with
never-
the-
See that first? And I apologize.
I mean, you put them on like, you're probably saying it's not. I was just saying.
It's that. She lost.
I like the fact that we just.
On the flip side, as they say, no, but I mean, not.
Yeah,
Just want to check.
That's totally different, right? That's nice.
I saw a really cool lake house. I think there's a chance that you can be in the next 5 years. If I got the eye out, like, guys. In my opinion.
Know that you're not in a position right now.
Let's just say that.
You're not in a position right now. They're gonna like almost like. You know, I'm gonna decide. I'm really interested in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another no. They actually had.
I mean, I've done that too. I guess my question. I hate mathematically figuring my people. How do you send from a study? Like a year. Oh.
This is the new. Our reading for. You can send me. I just drove back. Big thing. Obviously, one, you get
Like if you
set top of mine stuff.
have a work group meeting. Everyone.
I would kind of agree with that. I do a lot of that. I thousands of minutes.
What if they're on?
I'm just really. My actual. My actual. It might be that I'm just not. I think that's probably.
More than I can handle right now.
My second, yeah. And then I was saying, of course, which is, we can sit there, but it feels kind of. All that. It's.
But I make. 90%. So then I follow the. That's second on you, and then they'll respond.
Yeah, I just gave it.
Yeah, maybe they have, and then they go, find something really good.
Yeah, I like that, I like that. Out of the time, facts, I don't think they it's just gonna be on the side of the place.
I mean, I have sent text, messages just saying, have a good day, nothing else. That probably falls backwards. No one's gonna say, stop sending me have a good day text.
Right.
Even simple little things, like, hey, I was just thinking about you, hope life is well.
On my drive in today, I was thinking about it's that thing that we raised. I do need to be better, and you know what I should do, my aha is that you use the command app on your phone, because I'm so used to just, like, I'll sometimes do the phone roulette, where you do this, and you just go, boom, I guess I'm calling Eric Dryer and saying hi. Whereas I should do that, command app.
That's pretty random and not scheduled.
Yeah. Well, that's like on my drive in, like, oh.
But it's
I
all
haven't
about
talked to-
creating systems and routine,
Yeah.
right? And a cadence within your business.
Oh, my cadence is like. A drum set being dropped off. in the play.
Oh, so we're gonna go ahead and not recommend that. Hopefully you learn.
It's like Parkinson's and a drummer.
But you know, think about certain times of the year too, like in the spring, right? January, February, March, you want to ramp up communication because the seasonality of our industry, right? Versus.
I definitely do that. It's like being a cross country runner that doesn't really well at running. I just. I know what I'm doing. I do it really well. I just.
All right, all right, all right. 11:20. I want to get you guys out of here in the next 5-10 minutes. Want to answer any questions? Anybody have any questions from your conversations or your role playing that came up? All right, let's quote up here. I engage every conversation, the spirit of contribution. When people are happy to be in relationship with me, right? Come from contribution, provide value. A lot easier to ask if you give first. One of my favorite things to post on Facebook is I'm teaching a class today on how to, evaluate the value of homes to newer real estate agents. Does anybody want to have their home value? Then I undoubtedly get people that PM me and go, think about selling to the submarket, what's their value, right? Something like that. So have your list, who you're gonna contact. Follow up, any successes in the last week besides the stuff we talked about earlier? Who's got a new listing? Kevin, what do you got?
2 on 1 on South Maple, 540,000. And then lots of 3 run Kingsfield.
Ooh.
Is 5.
365, that must be a 3-story.
And then we got one, another 530,000.
Kevin's got a $500,000 house to sell and he doesn't know where it is.
So buyers are absolutely out. I had an open house this weekend. $779,000. 58 people come through this weekend.
Wow.
3 offers.
Yay.
That your Hudson property?
Oh, you.
Exciting.
But the reason. I
Bye,
say
Denise. Thank you.
Man, there's buyers out.
Yeah.
You can, listings are, hey, get a listing, we're all dying to get onto, buyers are every price point.
I think they realize that interest rates aren't gonna go back down. We won't see 3% ever again.
Well, I think people too are realizing, oh, they're not that bad. I mean, it's not 12%. Right.
With
Not bad compared to 2 and 3.
Right.
I mean.
uncertainty last fall, people don't make moves in uncertainty. Election years are traditionally down because of uncertainty. Doesn't matter about red or blue or whatever. It's just uncertainty.
So for agents such as yourself. doing it for a while. Isn't like the 2%, 3%, wasn't that kind of an anomaly anyways? I mean, I don't think that it was sustainable.
I bought my first house in 2001. And I had a great interest rate of 7.25 every time.
No, I was gonna say, I feel like
And then in
those.
2005, I had 6.5, and started buying more houses, and this was around that rate, but yeah. Zero down the road.
I gotta sign contract.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Purchase agreement?
Yeah.
Is it an offer or a listing?
It's in, well, I have, my client is the buyer and we got a,
Were you in multiples?
no,
Oh, cool.
we had a counter.
That happens.
They canceled the second, there was somebody going in for a second showing, but they accepted our offer for their.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
There's deals under contract. Congrats. Anything else? Boom, boom.
I got a new buyer yesterday. Where they just said, actually, Michael already bought a place for them. We did, 5 condo showings yesterday for them, and 3 of the 5 were off market. From talking to a listing agent on one of the properties,
Yeah.
and one of the off market ones seems to be a most perfect fit for it.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Make sure that listing agent guarantees your buyer broker compensation.
Yeah.
Because when it's not on the MLS, it's not guaranteed.
Yep, I gotta figure out how to get that, all of their salad done off market deal yet.
It's a form that they can fill out. Just seems not a successful scenario. Not between agent and principal. There's one that we have on repertoire of forms. So we're not.
Yeah, it was one of those things, that's how much we listed to figure out how exactly that's gonna work, because.
Yeah.
Got off market property for personal purchase as well as doing have the right things up. So, yeah.
We're cool. We'll go out and make things happen. Thanks for coming today. Very cool. Yes.
Yes.
Lunch. So you want to say what you guys want to do?
What up?
Fire. And then I have a new virtual.
Did everybody get signed in?
I didn't hear it. It's new tonight. It's like you said.
Ladies are.
Was busy. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes. It's very good week.
Our family is first.
A little bit of salary and market.
We got a huge one. I'll be walking all day in the. No, no. Okay.
Yay.
Yeah.
What was the? Yeah, no, they have to add somebody.
Yes.
Well, I know, I appreciate it. Look amazing.
Thank you.
So you would end up starting over this paper.
Is there any?
Well, actually, funny.
It's actually early evening.
Oh, well, Tuesday, I do not want to be here like
So that's who's gonna be on for sure. But whoever you're doing,
You want to find out?
they're not gonna actually be on the rooms. They're not coming.
Friday, if you're going, I have time for these, I'm not even my son is sitting, we're just sitting in the.
Oh, that's Well, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. I'm seeing these now.
You can make it a direct to God in the service. Really.
I don't think my kids have.
All the ambulance stuff. Yeah. I changed my. Literally.
Not, you can do a video showing with them, so you can start to know. There. And then. You can do it. And then. You can do it. You can just- You're going to do that. You can see it.
That's actually really cute, and we mom, like, and then mom already would be for very long time, and that's everything.
I know, it's literally.
I think for only pleasure,
I had a friend who was just like, well, I just have so many good memories, it's all like, and I'm like, okay, but it's literally the worst.
Right, it doesn't mean we can't learn and change our use of them, you know, it's like their child.
Get it.
So then.
Well, yeah.
There with you.
But then on the flip side, if the Shriner, there's so many good things.
Yeah.
I struggle with that, like, I just support that because they use so many like that. People, different people who can help themselves.
Yeah.
So. We're going anyway. Should we go later? I don't know. Try to hold my.
It's kind of, I like Chick-fil-A every once in a while, I go, even though it's not gonna eat chicken. I hate them too, and I don't think it's just really, I find it.
See, I could also make a comment of it.
Oh, I'm.
They're.
You want to.